Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we have the public release of iPadOS 18.2. The highlight of this release is actually going to be more Apple Intelligence stuff if you have a compatible iPad that is an M series iPad or the A17 Pro iPad mini. But there are also a lot of smaller new features that aren't related to Apple Intelligence. And I'm going to switch it up actually starting with those this time around, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. If you weren't aware, Safari on iPadOS lets you customize the default start page. In 18.2, Apple has added a few additional default images for you to choose from. Now you get to those images by tapping on the Edit button at the bottom of the start screen and scrolling down to where it says Background Image, and you'll see those first 5 or 6 are new in this release. You can kind of tell because they haven't been downloaded yet. So I can go ahead and tap on this blue one here. I'll get this progress spinner, and then the image will apply to the browser. And of course, you can always just tap on the plus button and pull up the photo picker and pick whatever image you want to be your background image. This release of Safari also adds a live activity when you're downloading files in the browser. I'll show you what this looks like by going to testfile.org, which gives you a couple of large files you can download. But when I tap the link, I get the standard download prompt, and we go ahead and start the download. I'll go to the download manager and I can see it's going. And then as I pull down the lock screen, I can see this live activity, which is giving me a live update of my Safari download, which would be really useful in the case of you starting a large download, which is going to take a while, and you go off to do something else. You can just kind of tap the lock screen and see the progress of your file download, which is kind of handy. Safari also now adds the ability to import or export browsing data. Now to find this option, you're going to have to dig into Settings, and then go to Apps, and then go to Safari, and scroll down towards the bottom, and you'll see a new Import and Export option. The Import option will let you accept the file that Safari is expecting, and if you want to see what's contained in that file, let's go to the Export option, and we'll see what we're actually dealing with here. And we're looking at bookmarks, your Safari bookmarks, browsing history, extension data, saved credit card data if you have that, as well as any passwords you have saved in the browser. Now, as Apple notes here, this data is saved in a file that's unencrypted so that other browsers can import it. So you want to be careful with what you do with the file that's generated. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save to Downloads. It'll force me to authenticate here. And then I'm told the file export successful, and that export gets put in the Files app for me to bring into another browser or do whatever I want with it. So really nice if you're looking to switch to another browser or come back to Safari from another browser. This is a great way to get your data where it needs to be. The somewhat controversial Photos app in iPadOS 18 gets a few small improvements in 18.2. First of all, the Favorites collection, if you use Favorites, now appears in both the Pin Collection section as well as the Utilities selection on the sidebar. Secondly, the Video Scrubber lets you now scrub frame by frame when you're going through a video. And the way you know this is working is when you look at the timestamps now and you're scrubbing a video, you can see the milliseconds. Based on the research I did, that's how we know that's what it's doing. And then lastly, the recently shared and recently added album histories can now be cleared. Now, I'll be honest, because I don't spend a lot of time in the Photos app, I didn't know either of these collections were a thing. But now you're actually able to go in and clear the photos in those groups, either one at a time or all at once by tapping this button in the ellipsis, and this applies for both albums. The Find My app now has the option to share the location of an AirTag or another device that's in your Find My list. This is useful in the event you need help locating an item, or say, for example, the airline lost your luggage, you're able to share that location with them and say, hey, this is where it is. How you get there is you go into Find My, you go to the device, you scroll down and tap on Share Item Location. That'll give you a series of prompts that will end with a link you're able to share over email or messages or whatever. And then the person on the other end, if they're on an Apple device, will be able to see the item and Find My. Otherwise, it'll open in the web on a non-Apple device. The link is active by default for 7 days, But if you find the item before then, you can go back into Find My and disable the link so that no one else can see it but you. There are three notable changes in the Settings app this time around. First, the icon styling of the app icons when you go to the app section will now mirror whatever icon settings you have on the home screen. Meaning, if you're in light mode like I'm in now, you see light mode icons in this app section. But if I were to turn on dark mode, then I see the dark mode icons. And this even extends to icon tinting if you're into that. So if I go back to the home screen, turn on set tint, and go back to settings, you see the icons update with their tinted variations. Not necessary, but I guess this may fall under fit and finish. I don't know. It's fine. Speaking of the app section, in settings, there is now a dedicated section for setting your default apps. So, what this does is consolidate what used to be spread across the Mail app and Safari and other apps into one area that lets you set some defaults. Now, the options that show up here are probably going to be region specific. For example, in the EU, you're probably going to have more options than we have here in the US, but it's still a good start. So you can set your default mail client, your default messaging client, default browser, things of that nature, and as things hopefully change over time, we'll see more defaults in this list. But again, it's just nice to have them all in one place. And last, there is a new option to set a volume limit for the external speakers on your iPad. Now, this would be useful if you want to limit how loud maybe a child can play music or have a TV show going. I'm sure there's many other uses. But if you go into settings and then go to sounds, and there's a new option that says volume limit, and you're able to toggle that on and set the max limit between 20% and 90%. It's great that is there for those who need that capability. Almost forgot, and I believe this used to be the default, but there's now an accessibility option to always show the volume control on the lock screen when you're playing music or media. This is in accessibility, so if you go into accessibility and you tap on audio and visual, you'll see there's an option that says always show volume control. Now, what does that actually look like? Well, I'll give you an example. If I pull down the lock screen now and I've got this music playing, you'll see that I don't have the volume scrubber in the media controls. Now, if I come back and turn that switch on, I'm going to pull down the lock screen again, and once I pause it, play it, the volume control restores itself, and if I need to change the volume by using the scrubber there, I could do that. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this was a default before, and now it's in accessibility for those who still need that capability. So now let's get into the Apple Intelligence features, and it's worth noting up front, assuming you're on a supported iPad, that during the beta there was a waitlist for the image creation features, and I'm assuming there will be with the final release as well. To get on the waitlist, you have to open the Image Playground app, and that'll automatically get you added. You don't go into settings this time around to get on the waitlist. You have to actually open Image Playground, or if you can get to Genmoji and the emoji keyboard, try and invoke either one of those should get you on the waitlist if there is one this time around. Image Playground is a new application powered by Apple's generative AI models that allow users to create custom images based on photos, based on provided prompts, or based on prompts you provide yourself. Let's take a look at how this works. Go into the app here, and I'm actually going to take a picture of myself and use it to start, the demo. So I'll go into the picker here, grab this photo I preloaded. All right, Image Playground sees it. You get this floating orb while it's thinking, and it's given me a reasonable approximation of that picture. You get a couple different variants as well. You can see along the bottom we have the segmented control, so I could swipe along here to see the different variants it came up with. Slightly different styles, slightly different hats. You get the idea. Now along the bottom here we have this suggestion row, and these are pre-populated prompts you can give to the AI to help refine your image. So I'm going to pick this one here. Let's do lighthouse. And you see it gets added to the query, and then I get the image of myself with a lighthouse in the background. Now let's add that chef hat, just for giggles, and now I am a chef with a lighthouse in the background. So you can see how you can combine different prompts, either the pre-provided ones or ones you could type in yourself to help generate the image you're looking for. The app currently supports a couple of different styles. If you tap on the style button at the bottom, there's an animation and an illustration style. If I switch over to illustration, it looks less computer generated and slightly more hand illustrated. Not the worst thing in the world. You can share your image and save this to your gallery. And then these images are accessible through other apps like Messages. So if I go into the Messages app, there's an Image Playground iMessage app now. I'm going to tap on that. And I have an interface here that actually lets me perform pretty much everything I just did in the Image Playground app right here in Messages, which is great. I want to use the one I just did, so I'm going to hit this blue X in the left corner. It'll give me the option to go to my library. We'll see that image I created, and then I can just use that and send it on. Genmoji, as the name suggests, uses generative AI to create custom emoji. Now, it's actually really easy to get to. It just exists in the emoji keyboard. So if I go into the emoji search and I type for something that's not in the standard emoji set, so for example, let's do something weird like duck as a knight, like in a suit of armor. I see on the left here, I get that create new emoji button. That pulls up like an image generation interface. Thinks for a minute, and then I get my duck in a suit of armor. A couple different variations. I'll go ahead and pick one, and then I can just send it like I would any other emoji. What's nice is you can actually use Genmoji the same way you would standard emojis. So they can be used for tapbacks, they can be turned into stickers, they're just like regular emojis. Image Wand is a tool in the Notes app that lets you take rough sketches or descriptions in your notes and turn them into more realized images. Now, the Image Wand tool itself is part of the Apple Pencil palette. So you go into the palette, and it should be towards the end. Looks like a magic wand. I'm going to go ahead and make a circle here, and you'll see that the title of the note has been pulled in, which is tablet computer, and it used that as context to generate a tablet that looks like an iPad, but not really an iPad, which is fine. We know AI artwork is weird around the edges. So next, in that same note, I'm going to draw my own picture of a tablet that also looks like an iPad. My beautiful drawing here. I'll go to the Image Wand tool, circle around it. At this point, it wants a little more additional context. So I'm just going to put tablet here and go ahead and submit that. And I will take my image and that text I added to generate an iPad, or a tablet rather. And of course, you get multiple variations as well. I'll try one more time here. And I'll circle my picture, but the context I'll say red tablet. And when it's done generating, it generates a red tablet that honestly reminds me of an Etch-a-Sketch. But you get the idea. And hopefully this gives you an idea of how you might be able to use this. I just think it's a pretty cool use of tech either way, but it's pretty nice. Last but not least, we have ChatGPT integration with Siri. Now, this is a completely optional part of Apple Intelligence that if you want nothing to do with it, you do not have to turn it on. It is not on by default. So if you go into Settings and then Apple Intelligence and Siri, you'll see there's an extension section that has ChatGPT as the only item. You can imagine down the road other chatbots getting integrated like Gemini or Copilot, but today it's just ChatGPT. I'm going to tap into that. And here's where you would turn on the ChatGPT integration, and you'll be able to, via Siri, ask ChatGPT to write text or create images. All the things you probably do with ChatGPT today should be accessible through this interface. You can optionally sign into your ChatGPT account so that your queries get associated with your account. If you don't do that, then the queries are not associated with you in any identifiable way. Completely optional again. Free or paid account will work here. Underneath there, we have the option to confirm ChatGPT requests. So by default, when Siri thinks it needs to reach out to ChatGPT, you'll get a prompt to confirm that you want to do that because you're sending your data from your iPad to this third party system. If you turn this off, then you won't get that prompt except for more sensitive things like uploading images, I believe, is where I ran into this. I still had to provide a confirmation that I wanted to send that to ChatGPT. So let's look at what this integration looks like. How would I fly to Norway? Okay, and we see we get that prompt for ChatGPT. I'm going to say use ChatGPT. Normally Siri would have just searched the web there. And it gave me an answer. Let's try something else. Ask ChatGPT to create an image of a man-sized bat. And we get the image. We'll pretend that's what I wanted. It's close enough. But you get the idea. ChatGPT is integrated into Siri as a nice kind of fallback when Siri falls short, which I know is a problem for a lot of people. So that's really going to do it for this one. Thank you for hanging in there for this extra long video. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel on your way out if you could. I'd really appreciate it. And make sure to follow me on social media. I'm at SlatePad on Threads, Mastodon, and Instagram, and Blue Sky, I guess, too. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll catch you in the next one.